Most people think vulnerability is weakness. But what if I told you that avoiding it is actually ruining your life? Look, I learned this the hard way as a pilot. One in-flight emergency changed everything I thought I knew about asking for help. I'll tell you that story in a second, but first, why do we all resist vulnerability? Hey, by the way, if this is already hitting home for you, boop that like button to give this a little love. Costs nothing, and it helps more people find this message. Hey, Steve here from Old Guy Insights. Last time we talked about how confidence comes from action, taking responsibility for your own learning and growth. That still holds true. Nobody else is going to do the work for you. But here's where I think most people get stuck. They think that figuring it out means figuring it out alone. They believe asking for help means they're somehow failing. That couldn't be further from the truth. Because the smartest, most capable people, they aren't the ones who try to muscle through everything alone. They're the ones who know when to reach out, when to ask for advice, and when to say, hey, I don't have all the answers. Let's figure this out together. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. For the longest time, I believed showing vulnerability meant opening myself up to getting hurt. And honestly, that thought terrified me. Because being vulnerable meant trusting people. And trusting people meant giving them a chance to let me down. Sound familiar? Maybe you've been burned before, opened up to someone only to have them dismiss your feelings, break your trust, or use your honesty against you. And after a few of those experiences, it's easy to decide, nope, never again. I get it. I really do. I spent many flying hours as a commercial search and rescue pilot, and in that world, there's this unspoken rule. Pilots are supposed to know everything. We're trained to be calm, composed, always in control. People want first responders to have all the answers. There's this expectation that if something goes wrong, you just handle it. No second guessing, no asking for help. Just figure it out. But over my years in the cockpit, I learned something that changed everything. The best pilots, they weren't the ones who acted like they had all the answers. They were the ones who weren't afraid to ask for help, advice, or wisdom from other pilots. I remember one very harrowing in-flight emergency where, after I landed safely, thankfully, I picked up the phone and called a corporate pilot friend of mine. I told him what had happened, and without missing a beat, he gave me the best piece of advice I'll never forget. He said, Steve, the best pilots, even me, have a buddy they can talk to for advice before they take off if something doesn't feel right. That stuck with me because he was right. He explained that just talking a situation through with someone else helps you see the smartest path forward. And you know what? The moment I let go of the fear of looking like I didn't have all the answers, something great shifted. Being vulnerable, willing to raise my hand and say, I don't know, didn't make me feel stupid. It made me feel like the smartest pilot in the pilot lounge. And it made me realize this whole idea of vulnerability makes you weak? That's complete nonsense. Just total BS. Because here's the thing. In aviation, just like in life, you have to know your stuff. You don't just wing it. You study, you train, you read the damn manuals. Hey, see the last show where I talk about RTFM. You'll see. But even the best pilots, the ones with thousands or tens of thousands of hours in the sky, don't just rely on themselves. They ask questions. They learn from other pilots who've been through it before. They have a buddy to talk things through with. Because knowing your stuff and asking for help, those two things are not opposite. That's what makes you great. I've seen firsthand what happens when people refuse to be vulnerable. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. Nope. In my 30 plus years as a debt coach, I've lost track of the number of people who refused to be vulnerable and regretted it. They lost their financial futures because they were too ashamed, afraid, or embarrassed to ask for advice. I've watched hundreds, if not thousands of people let their fear of vulnerability cost them thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, or millions in retirement, and years of unnecessary struggle. They shunned vulnerability, thinking it made them look weak, only to lose so much more: their savings, their homes, their relationships, and their peace of mind. And the hardest part? They didn't even have to go through it alone. If they had just asked for help earlier, things could have been different, but pride, fear, and shame kept them stuck. So trust me when I say, I know how scary vulnerability can be, but I also know what happens when we let fear win. Not good. But here's something crazy. Vulnerability isn't the only thing that helps people through tough times. In fact, most people ignore one of the most powerful coping tools on the planet: laughter. And trust me, you do not want to miss the next show. If this message spoke to you, drop a comment below. Have you ever struggled with vulnerability? Let's talk about it. You're not alone in this. Before you go, make sure to boop that like button to help this reach others who need it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Hey, check out oldguyinsights.me. That's me. For more free resources on this topic, I'll leave a link below. I'm sending you a big virtual hug, and until next time, see ya.